Alright, it's like 3 a.m. right now, and I just finished Persona 3 Reloaded. And I just gotta talk about it, man. It was just really great. Like I never played the original game, but going into it, I saw the gameplay. I knew of like the gameplay, and when I went into it, I was like, man, this plays like Persona 5, but it's better than Persona 5 in terms of combat. And the combat is just a strict upgrade from Persona 5, and the combat was so much fun. Like the combat was so much fun. I will say there are points in the game where the gameplay did drag a little bit, especially in that three. And the spoilers, there's gonna be spoilers in this video, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, probably just probably click off. But there's a 3 month period in the game where it makes sense in the context of the plot, but there was like no main story bosses. And if you played the game, you know what I'm talking about. But it's when I guess it's like after you defeat the 12th the 12th boss, and then your team sinks. They dispel the Dark Hour. But then the next full moon happens. But then the next night happens, and Tartarus is still there. And there's no more bosses for you to fight. And then the next full moon happens, and Ryoji fights Aigis. And then after that, there's another full moon that happens where you don't fight anything. And after that, you fight something. And before that, you have to keep in mind that you had the whole Itsuji, fucking what's his name? Shuji brainwashed Aigis, and you didn't even do that fight. So that's like, there's a couple points in the game where I feel like the plot doesn't add up. Most importantly, like, I don't understand. I'm sure it was maybe referenced somewhere, but I don't quite understand what Shuji's angle was with his plan. And also, that entire plot point was so unnecessary, in my opinion. But man, like, because Shuji could not have known about the fall, right? And if he did know about the fall, then he would know he needed the appraiser. But he didn't know who the appraiser is, or did he think it was him? I just don't get Shuji's plan. Maybe someone can clear it up for me. But then also the fact you don't fight Aigis there feels like such a missed opportunity. Like, she just beats the crap out of you guys and mounts you to a stake, and then you can't do anything about it besides power friendship out of her mind control later on. It just felt like a plot point to just like get Shuji out of the picture and also kill Mitsuru's dad. Like, I don't know. It just felt so unnecessary, and I feel like it would have made more sense if Shuji was a benefactor for Strega the whole time, but he just wasn't. I don't know. Speaking of Strega, I don't understand how they were able to scale Tartarus at all in third semester without Fuka noticing. Because it was established that the only reason they went undetected by Fuka earlier in the game was because they had Chidori. But at that point in the game, when they started making moves, they didn't have Chidori. So how were they doing anything without Fuka noticing? And how did they scale Tartarus without any of the resources that C's had, or Nixon Annihilation C, whatever you want to call it? And I like Strega. I actually thought they were interesting. I just kind of wish they showed up more. They showed up like 4 times, and you fight them 2 of those 4 times. I don't know. It was nice though that you could talk to Takaya before fighting him in the Tartarus Tower, though. But I don't know. Felix Strega could have done a little bit more of them. The plot, however, is like, it felt way more streamlined than Persona 5, which is my main point of reference because I haven't played Persona 4, and I plan on playing Golden relatively soon. Because Persona 5 is a very episodic plot where it's like, okay, we have main bad guy, we're gonna change the heart of main bad guy, and then find a new guy. Whereas in this, it's like, we have a goal, which is to get rid of Dark Hour, and that's the goal the entire game. Until like it shifts at the end, you gotta kill Nyx. But man, it's. But like, those are my main things of the plot. The gameplay does get stale, especially in Tartarus, because Tartarus is, let's just face it, Tartarus is not as visually striking or interesting and fun to traverse his palaces. And you have to scale Tartarus. It's pretty much this game's Mementos. It's better than Mementos, but it's not better than Palaces. And the thing is, Mementos wasn't necessary until like the end of the game, whereas you have to scale Tartarus to like do anything in Persona 3 Reloaded. And Tartarus gets really boring really fast. Even though the combat is really great. Characters, I like all the characters. I'll make a character tier list at some point, sure. Obviously, the standout is Aigis. I finally get it. I finally got the Aigis love after playing for the last 10 to 15 hours of the game. She's awesome. She's the best character in the game. She's somehow the most relatable character too, which is really funny because she's a robot. But man, she's awesome. The ending was, and then dude, we gotta talk about the ending. Dude, I'm gonna talk about the boss fight first. Nick's boss fight, the phase 1, very okay. I played the game on normal difficulty, because I don't want to be easy, but I'm also there for the story for the most part. But man, I can't. It was such a weird boss fight. I feel like again, I'm compared to Persona 5, but I feel like the boss fights against both Yaldabaoth and Maruki were better in terms of final boss fights. But the moment was really cool though, because it was very just a culmination of that felt like a very climactic moment where all your social links and stuff like that came through. Now I'm sure that moment would have happened regardless of how many social links you did, but in any case. And then obviously my favorite moment was when Shinjiro was like, "All right, let's do this," and you could hear him beyond the grave or whatever. Shinjiro was one of my favorite characters in the game, and I kind of knew he was gonna die, but I didn't want him to die because I loved him so much. He was my guy. He's my favorite of the male cast in this game. Which I actually do really like the male cast. Shinjiro, Akihiko, I really like. Junpei, it took me a while to really like him, but I liked him a lot. Ken was whatever. And then for those curious, I do like Koromaru, but he's a dog, and there's only so. It's really hard to make the dog as charming as the other characters. And I think it was noted in the game where Koromaru already did a lot of this development off screen, so he doesn't get a lot of moments in the game. Just fair. But then, the true ending was so freaking good, man. The bad ending, of course, was everyone forgets, and they just live out peaceful lives until the fall happens, and I guess remember everything because that's tragic. And that's tragic. The true ending is so good, though. It's, again, you get to talk to all your social links and check up on them and see how they're getting along, which is really cool. The way to bring them home. Side tangent about the social links. The fact that every single social link chapter is voiced is crazy. Because in Persona 5, it was only the first one and maybe the last two. Whereas in this, all the social links are voiced, which is amazing. That must have been so much work. Voice acting in this game was also just really good throughout. Notably, Aegis's and Takaya's voice actors were so good. I loved both of them in their roles. But yeah, getting back to the true ending. Man, it was the build up to the point where you weren't sure if they were going to remember if to go to the rooftop, but then Aigis, of course, remembered the whole time, and then you remembered, and you both waited on the rooftop there for your friends. It's so good. And then everyone's slowly remembering, especially when Mitsuru had the aha moment of oh wait, that's not how my dad died. Oh my dad. So that was just really cool. And then obviously the fact that Makoto had the will, which I'm referring to the MT as Makoto. Makoto had the will to prevent his death for that long until his friends came over there to finally feel at ease and quote unquote die. And Aegis's lab is so great, dude. And then it sets up the episode of Aigis or the Answer or whatever, which I'm gonna play when it comes out. Not 7 months from now. Jeez, that's a long way. But I waited a year for Future Redeemed after Xenoblade 3, so I can wait. Man, it was just so good, and I just really wanted to talk about it. Man, and that's really. I don't think I have much else to say, man. Like the music was so good, so good. Maybe my favorite OST in gaming. It's really close. Xenoblade 3 is right there. Xenoblade 3 soundtrack is amazing too. But obviously, Persona 3 is also really freaking good. I would say it's better than Persona 5 soundtrack. But Persona 5 soundtrack is a lot more like bombastic and exciting. While this was more so like, I don't really know. Maybe like somber and like more emotionally low key. I don't really know how to describe it, but it was just really good. I love the soundtrack. I also loved like all the slight visual changes in the game that happened throughout, especially when it went to third semester and the colors got a little bleaker. Because the soundtrack starts off like relatively upbeat, and then goes down a couple notches, and then becomes way more somber by the end of the game. But ironically enough, the somber soundtracks in the third semester are my favorite, and they were just all so good. What other music is so good? The other Persona wielders boss fight, Strega's music was also really good. That stands out to me a lot. The Seeds of Varanus soundtrack was also really good. Obviously, the song I'm playing right now, which was the ending song for the game, was also really good. But yeah, I just liked all the characters. I also really liked that all the Persona's evolutions were used to mark character development and like character growth, which is I think a really cool touch. Whereas in Persona 5, Persona evolutions only happened if you like max out a social link, but having it be tied to directly to plot is really cool in my opinion. And then finally, the last thing I want to say is that God, I have it on my tongue. What was I trying to say? I dropped it, but regardless, like it was just a great game. If you played any Persona games or interested in RPGs, I probably might recommend you pick up Persona 3 Reloaded. Characters are great, plot's pretty good, combat's pretty good, gameplay drags in a couple places, I'll admit. And then the final verdict: do I like it more than Persona 5? Really hard call. I'd say just finish the game, so Persona 3 is fresh in my mind right now. Persona 5 is way more. It's more bombastic, like I said, and it's more exciting. And I think it's got greater like moments, but I can't deny the emotional ending that Persona 3 Reloaded has. Like I was tearing up a little bit when the ending played Persona 3 Reloaded. That's how good it was. But yeah, that's about it. That's all I wanted to say. So go play Persona 3 Reloaded. It's really good.